welcome to part 2 of the Hilux Respray, and today we're going to be priming it up. Before we get stuck into the masking, what you want to do first is hit it with some wax and grease remover. Just wipe that on with a bit of rag. That helps get rid of any dirt and helps the tape to stick. One night after work, I actually masked up the left-hand side of the car, so that one's ready to go. Now, just got to do the rest. In between the two doors, I'm using some brown paper to mask off the door edge, and by gently pushing the paper into the car itself, it helps create a barrier and prevents any primer overspray going inside. It's a lot easier than cleaning overspray off trims afterwards. I'm going to show you a little trick in how to get into this gap using a soft pad. The aim here is to tear the soft pad into sections that you can fold in half, and then gently wiggle into the gap between the door and fender. Repeat the process until the gap is filled. There you have it, and that stops the primer overspray getting into that gap. Once I've finished masking up all the areas requiring primer, I now move on to this fancy plastic called roll mask. Like its name, you unroll it along the length of the car before reaching underneath to unfold the plastic down the car. It's really handy stuff, helps make masking quicker, and will prevent a lot of overspray. Once I have plastic covering the whole car, I will begin cutting out the sections that I've masked up. The aim is to follow the tape already stuck to the car with a blade, being very careful to only cut through the plastic. Once cut, I can now peel the plastic away from the areas to prime and then tape down the loose plastic edge to the tape that is already on the car. Alright, the Hilux is now all masked up. I know it might not look like much, but that was about 2.5 hours worth of masking. Probably doesn't help that I'm not the quickest at it, but we got it done. I need to give it one more wipe over with a bit of wax and grease remover, and then we can finally start mixing up some primer. So I'll show you what I've done before we get into the primer mixing. This is the primer that we'll be using on the Hilux. It's a 4-to-1 mix and it's pretty cool. This is the first use of my new spray mask. Let's start mixing. So the goal of my first primer coat is to cover just my repairs. Those are the areas that I need the most build up, and it will help massively when it's time to start blocking. Coat 1 all done, it's on to the second, and this time I join all my repair areas together with a nice even coat to fill gaps and create an even bigger surface area of primer. Well, here we go. The Hilux is all primed up. I'm super stoked with how it all came out. Managed to get 3 coats on all my repair areas. Got 4 on the tailgate. Managed to sneak that one in. Primed areas ended up being a little bit bigger than what I thought, but that's all right. Now the fun part of unmasking it all. is now the day after I've primed up the Hilux and I'm ready to start prepping it towards paint. On the block, I'll be using a bit of 320 grit. Yeah, I want to get as much done as possible today so that I've got less to do after work during the week. So let's get stuck in. As you can see here, while I'm blocking the tailgate, it looks like the primer is changing colour, and that's because I'm actually blocking through the primer layers. It's really handy as I use this as a guide coat to get the repair areas straight. I will keep blocking until all the darker areas, or what's known as lows, have all disappeared. It's really important to keep the block flat and follow the panel shape during this process. Having one of these sanding blocks that connect to a vacuum is brilliant, and it makes the whole process a lot easier when you're not breathing in any dust. The blocks I use are from Merkur, and as for the mask, that's just for added protection. My lungs thank me for it. One side down. Both sides of the Hilux are now blocked. My next step is going to be to look for any chips and pinholes that the primer didn't fill. A couple little areas like this. So hopefully the GoPro picks it up. And to fill those little areas in, I'll be using this product called Easy Sand. It's a nice fine filler and you can use a really fine grit sandpaper to rub it all down. Once I've done that, I'll be getting on the whizzer. I'll be using 400 grit and the interface pad. Again, the aim of the 400 is to get rid of all the 320 scratches and any shiny paint that's left on the car. I'm completing the primer prep straight after I'm home from work because the goal is to get the Hilux into a spray booth this weekend. I am a man on a mission and running on nothing but caffeine, as it is a race against the sun going down where I'm going to lose daylight and will no longer be able to see what I'm doing properly. I'm going to be wrapping up this part of the Hilux Respray here because the majority of the sanding is all done. I've got a couple little areas to go just around some corners and in some grooves. It's all just boring stuff, so that's why I'm going to wrap it up now. In the next part, I'll be getting it to work and getting it masked up, painted. Any extra little parts that we're going to paint along the way, just going to prep them at work. And yeah, that's going to be the exciting part. I'll give you a little walk around and show you exactly what I've done and see you in the next part.